Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a new week. My name is Stuart Davis, a flawed man of God coming here to talk to you. Who am I? I'm a nobody. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I am not a pastor, not a biblical scholar, have not been to seminary. What I am doing here is just exposure, talking about my faith, talking about how different things in life affect me and how I view it from what I believe to be a the way a Christian should view things. They are very much a from the heart, off the cuff. I do all this stuff live, and it's just this is me dealing with it, warts, blemishes, and all, because that's part of what being a Christian is going to be. Giving yourself grace, giving grace to others, because you and them are all going to fail at some point, and probably fail more than once or twice a day. So um, that's kind of what I wanted to do with this whole project. If you're new to this channel, if you're new to this stream, this is for folks who want to listen to Christian-based things, but also as an outreach to folks who are very interested in starting a relationship with Christ and looking for some sort of relatability, some sort of something that they're not being held accountable to yet. And that's what I want to give you. Something very very low key. This is not a sermon. This is not me giving you everything you need to assure your place in heaven. But this is a place for you to start, or a place for you to listen, a place for you to zone into just different things. Like I said, it's all about relatability. I want you all to be happy and healthy in your relationship with Christ, and you are going to see. And I feel like part of that is being a good example, is being vulnerable myself. So that's what I do here. I'm not trying to get you to join my congregation. I am not trying to get you to donate to any type of special cause, or charity. That's just what we do here. Just talking about the faith, talking about in the different aspects of it. One of the things I'm doing, and that's what we're doing tonight, is we're reading on the Bible. We're going through it chapter by chapter, and I'm just giving my thoughts as I read through it. Right, I'm reading through it again. Not a learned man. You're getting a very lay person view on things. I've read through the Bible before. I've been a Christian all my life, so I do have some insights, but not as a historian, not as a scholar. You're getting things as real and as raw as I can I can possibly bring them to you. So with that said, I hope you all had a great weekend. I did. I certainly did. A good friend of the show here. He is expecting his first child, so we want to congratulate him and wish him and his family the best as they go through the process of having the kid, and hopefully everything comes out happy and healthy, and um, you can start this new chapter of the family with fatherhood and with motherhood for your wife. I just want to say congratulations. I'm happy for you. Nothing as speaking to you, um, you sir, and anybody else who is expecting a child or has just recently had a child. th- this is the time where you can get so well into the faith, because and I can say my perspective is as a father. I'm not a mother, but it's very similar things. It's how much you care about your children. I want to do I want to do a stream tomorrow more about parenting, but it's it's so powerful being a parent, and the feelings that you get when you really feel it in your bones, how it affects your faith, and how you look out on things, and how you watch things, and explains so much about the things that God does, and just shows us how in just a fraction of the feelings that he feels. And I think that's so moving. So sir, congratulations. Hope everything works out, and everything is happy and healthy, and you guys start y'all's family off um great. Don't take a second for granted with that. I've enjoyed every moment with my kids, and I hope you do the same. Now, with that said, we do have a lot on our plate tonight, because I'm going to try to pound through 5 chapters of Leviticus all at once. That's a lot of that's a lot of Bible for any that's a lot of Bible for any chapter or any book of the Bible, but Leviticus specifically because it is so very, very dry, and it is so it can be so very, very monotonous, a little repetitive. But again, Leviticus is important. Leviticus is important because even though it's dry, there's so much meat that you get in there of the understanding of where we are as Christianity today, because we don't leave the Ten Commandments behind. We don't leave a lot of these Levitical teachings behind. Now, some of these offerings that we're going to be discussing today, we don't do that anymore. We don't have to, because Christ was that um, apply fits all sizes, for now and for in the past and forever, sacrifice that He gave for us, and so we have that. But these are things that the Israelites had to do and had to deal with. And there's meaning behind that. If you look not just at what they had to do, but if you're also thinking about why they had to do it, you start to get a little bit of more insight. The more insight you get, I think, into the faith and into what's in the Bible, the more you understand why things are required of us. Because a lot of times you're looking at the rules and you don't understand it, and you're like, well, why do I have to do this? Why does it God have these rules? God created a moral fabric. Um, what is goodness, right? God created this moral fabric, and we are expected to try to fall in line with that as best as we can. And that's this is me trying to make Leviticus interesting. It's not. It's not. Not in a sense that it's going to be much of a narrative. It's just going to be. It's be very much a learning um, of rules. So, but we have rules. This is not my best job on this, guys. So let me because I'm making this very poor attempt at this. So please bear with me on that. But I'll pull up Leviticus. Oh man. All right. Let's see. Do that. All right. And share this. So hopefully people are not watching the build up to this. But here I am. All right. We're at Leviticus 6. I'm giving spoilers if you haven't read your Bible, if you haven't been able to go through Leviticus. We're going to start at 3. We're going to talk about offerings today, okay? So, long before, as I said in the description, long before they passed an offering plate around the congregation at churches, maybe you've seen it, the little golden dish that we don't pass around anymore because of certain cultural and societal changes that have taken place since 2020, the beginning of 2020. We don't hand things around and put things in the dishes anymore. Um, but you remember that dish, that plate that went around, and you would put your offering in. That's for your tithing. That's for money. That's for donations. This is a little bit different offering. This is a very real, very much life and death affecting offering, and the life of the animals that you were offering and their death. And what are the reasons behind it? And it's very interesting that we didn't have just a sin offering. There were all sorts of offerings that were going on in Leviticus. So that's what we're really going to cover today. And there's really not a good reason why I'm pounding through 5 chapters, is there's really not a good stopping point in between there, I think, to kind of break it up. So I'm going to read through it. It's going to be, I'll pause when it gets, if there's anything particularly uh, and if there's anything particularly compelling in there. Otherwise, I'm just gonna just listen to see what's going on, and pick through from it what you can. And normally I read from the screen in front of me. I'm gonna have it on the side over here just because it's a lot of text. I'm getting older. Leviticus 3, the fellowship offering. If you have any thoughts and you're watching the stream, by all means, by the way, leave a comment. Let me see what your thoughts are. I'll definitely include them. So um, that's kind of what the goal will ultimately be. Hopefully, by the time that I'm get a few chapters in, I've got enough viewers and enough commenters that, hey, I can get some people saying, "Hey, this is what this means to me," or "Hey, I don't understand that about this." And I can read it. Might be able to give you some sort of insights, might give you some sort of answers. Maybe somebody else does. Whatever. Interactivity. That's what I really want to see here. You're not going to get much of that here. Leviticus 3, the fellowship offering. If your offering is a fellowship offering and you offer an animal from the herd, whether male or female, you are to present before the Lord an animal without defect. Don't give your gimpy ones over to God. He knows. He knows what's good. You know what's good. He knows what's good. You are to lay your hand on the head of your offering and slaughter it at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons, the priests, shall splash the blood against the sides of the altar. From the fellowship offering, you are to bring a food offering to the Lord, the internal organs and all the fat that is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins and the long lobe of the liver, which you will remove with the kidneys. Then Aaron's sons are to burn it on the altar on top of the burnt offering that is lying on the burning wood. It is a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Now, we talked about this several times before. An aroma pleasing to the Lord. What is that? I mean, it's an aroma pleasing to most of us. We love the smell of a good cookout, and I think that's what's going on here with with these offerings. You get the you get that home cooking going on. If you offer an animal from the flock as a fellowship offering to the Lord, you are to offer a male or female without defect. If you offer a lamb, you are to present it before the Lord. Lay your hand on its head and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's son shall splash its blood against the sides of the altar. From the fellowship offering, you to bring a food offering to the Lord. Its fat, the entire fat tail cut off close to the backbone, the internal organs and all the fat that is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which you will remove with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as a food offering presented to the Lord. Tasty, right? I'm not a big fan of the kidneys, many of the internal organs, but that fat tail cut off, good. If your offering is a goat, you are to present it before the Lord. Lay your hands on its head and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons shall splash its blood against the sides of the altar. From what you offered, you are to present this food offering to the Lord. The internal organs and all the fat that is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins and long lobe of the liver, which you will remove with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as a food offering, a pleasing aroma. All the fat is the Lord's. The fat of the land, the fat of the offering here. Um, it's very repetitious. That's what you'll see here, and this is why it can be a bit of a struggle with Leviticus. We're being very much you're taking things very much in a legal sense. We're being he's trying to say, hey, look, if you do a goat, if you do a animal from the herd, different things. I'm assuming a goat as opposed to an animal from the herd. Maybe it's something wild. Maybe this is something that we can get. Maybe this is something we can get one of my experts, one of the more scholarly folks to come on and talk about is some of what is going on here. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. Wherever you live, you must not eat any fat or any blood. Food laws. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. If you like meat, specifically steak, specifically pork, barbecue, some of these Levitical food laws are going to upset you. They upset me. The sin offering. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, when anyone sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, this is the important one. This is the real one we're going to focus on. When anyone sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, if the anointed priest sins, bringing guilt on the people, he must bring to the Lord a young bull without defect as a sin offering for the sin he has committed. He is to present the bull at the entrance to the tent of the meeting, to the tent of meeting before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on the head and slaughter it there before the Lord. Then the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood and carry it to the tent of meeting. He is to dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle some of it 7 times before the Lord in front of the curtain of the sanctuary. The priest shall then put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of a fragrant incense that is to before the Lord in the tent of meeting. The rest of the bull's blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He shall remove all the fat from the bull of the sin offering. all of the fat that is connected to the internal organs, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins and the long lobe of the liver, which he will remove with the kidneys. Just as the fat is removed from the ox sacrifice as a fellowship offering. Then the priest shall burn them on the altar of burnt offering. But the hide of the bull and all its flesh, as well as the head and legs, the internal organs and the intestines, that is, all the rest of the bull, he must take outside the camp to a place ceremonially clean where the ashes are thrown and burn it there in a wood fire on the ash heap. All right, so we give some stuff to the god and then we throw the rest out, all his leavings, right? And that's for the um That's for the priest. That's what we say at the very beginning. If the anointed priest sins and brings guilt on the people, so a little bit more weight on this on the priest. Do have some expectations. Just giving you a hint because we've already seen it with the very first high priest Aaron. We're going to see some mistakes from priests throughout the Old Testament, and not just and it's not going to just be after the Israelites settle in Israel. It's going to be on the way there. But and so this is what they do if the priests sin. So now we're talking about if the whole Israelite community sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though the community is unaware of the matter, when they realize their guilt and the sin they committed becomes known, the assembly must bring a young bull as a sin offering and present it before the tent of meeting. The elders of the community are to lay their hands on the bull's head before the Lord, and the bull shall be slaughtered before the Lord. Then the anointed priest is to take some of the bull's blood into the tent of meeting. He shall dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle it before the Lord 7 times in front of the curtain. He is to put some of the blood on the horns of the altar that is before the Lord in the tent of meeting. In the rest of the blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He shall remove all the fat from it and burn it on the altar, and do with this bull just as he did with the bull for the sin offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for the community, and they will be forgiven. Then he shall take the bull outside the camp and burn it as he burned the first bull. This is the sin offering for the community. Okay, so we have one for the priest and we have one with the community. Now, both this one was if the whole Israelite community sins unintentionally. That doesn't mean when the entire Israelite community sins intentionally, melting down their gold and worshiping the gold calf that Aaron says just pops out of the fire. When a leader sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the commands of the Lord his God, when he realizes his guilt and the sin he has committed becomes known, he must bring as his offering a male goat without male goat. So we've done bulls, now we're doing a goat without defect. He is to lay his hands on the goat's head and slaughter it at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered before the Lord. It is a sin offering. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. He shall burn all the fat on the altar as he burned the fat of the fellowship offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for the leader's sin, and he will be forgiven. So, leader here, I mean, we can talk about Moses, but remember, not early into the Exodus, um, Noah or not Noah, Moses decided was given the opportunity to start delegating tasks. So he started delegating that. So we have leaders. We also probably have tribal leaders for the different families, and this is where they come. Uh, this is where they come in. Now you will notice um, the priest sin. He doesn't talk about. He doesn't distinguish whether it is intentional or unintentional. The community sin is unintentional. The leader sin is unintentional. If any member of the community sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, when they realize their guilt and the sin they have committed becomes known, they must bring as their offering for the sin they committed a female goat without defect. So now we have a female goat. They are to lay their hand on the head of the sin offering and slaughter it at the place of the burnt offering. Then the priest is to take some of the blood with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. They shall remove all the fat, just as the fat is removed from the fellowship offering, and the priest shall burn it on the altar as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. In this way, the priest will make atonement for them, and they will be forgiven. So again, you sin, did it on accident. You realize what you did. You know what? Screwed up. I need to go get a female goat and go through this process in order to clear that transgression away. If someone brings a lamb as their sin offering, they are to bring a female without defect. They are to lay their hand on its head and slaughter it for a sin offering at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of burnt offering and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. They shall remove all the fat, just as the fat is removed from the lamb of fellowship offering, and the priest shall burn it on the altar on top of the food offerings presented to the Lord. In this way, the priest will make atonement for them for the sin they have committed, and they will be forgiven. So again, we still see this just a little bit extra here. If somebody brings a lamb instead of um, one of the other things, I guess, a lamb in lieu of bull or a goat or a male goat or a female goat. You bring a lamb. There's a specific way of doing this. But again, um, we're talking about unintentional sins. And when you didn't go out and do something that you knew was going to be wrong and you did it anyway. If anyone, and not only this, but the priest has to make these sacrifice. You're doing the sacrificing, but the priest is going through all the motions and doing all the putting on the um, putting the lamb, the body, the carcass of the animal on the plate. They're doing the field dressing, like, or the dressing of the animal, putting the meat, the butchering, the carving out of all that. They're doing handling a lot of that, and if you see how it's written. We're doing this as the priest on your behalf in order to do this for you. What has changed in between in between then and now? Well, with when Christ died, this is where you'll see. I think this is where some differences in between um, Christians like Catholics, where you go to a priest for confession. There is New Testament scripture that the Catholics point to. That's their interpretation of why you have to go to a priest for confession. But you know, I don't take it that way. You can take it another way. We're not going to get into that debate right now. But again, what I what I think happens here is you still have that bureaucracy in place. Back here in the Old Testament, you have to go through the specific process. Go to a priest. The priest has to handle it at this point, and then make that sacrifice to God on your behalf. If anyone sins because they do not speak up when they hear a public charge to testify regarding something they have seen or learned about, they will be held responsible. If anyone becomes aware that they are guilty, if they unwittingly touch anything ceremonially unclean, whether the carcass of an unclean animal, wild or domestic, or of any unclean creature that moves along the ground, and they are unaware that they have become unclean, but then they come to realize their guilt, or if they touch human uncleanliness, anything that would make them unclean, even though they are unaware of it, but then they learn of it and realize their guilt, or if anyone thoughtlessly takes an oath to do anything, whether good or evil, in any manner one might carelessly swear about, even though they are unaware of it, but then they learn of it and realize their guilt. When anyone becomes aware that they are guilty in any of these matters, they must confess in what way they have sinned. As a penalty for the sin they have committed, they must bring to the Lord a female lamb or goat from the flock as a sin offering, and the priest shall make atonement for them for their sin. So again, we're going through here. This is when you do something unintentionally. Like, you make a mistake, but you don't know it. But then all of a sudden it dawns on you that you did make the mistake. And here's where it comes in, when you realize you've done something wrong. Not if you're walking around ignorant of the fact that you are breaking the rules. This is when you wisen up, or you have time to reflect on your past actions and you go, oh crap, I did something wrong. What do I need to do about it? God has got this pathway for them. This is what you need to do. Go grab that female lamb or goat from the flock as a sin offering. Anyone who cannot afford a lamb is to bring two doves or two young pigeons to the Lord as a penalty for their sin, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering. They are to bring them to the priest, who shall first offer the one for the sin offering. He is to wring its head from its neck, not dividing it completely, and is to splash some of the blood of the sin offering against the side of the altar. The rest of the blood must be drained out at the base of the altar. It is a sin offering. The priest shall then offer the other as a burnt offering in the prescribed way to make atonement for them for the sin they have committed, and they will be forgiven. So think of the pigeon or dove as the bag cereal, the cheap stuff. If you can't afford the name brand uh, goat or lamb, you can still get away with a pigeon or a dove, two of them, please. And I think I should probably stop referring to pigeons as sky rats because if they were actual sky rats, they probably would not be appropriate for the Lord. But here he is. We have a path for folks who are of lesser means. Anyone who, oh, and we got that. If, however, they cannot afford two doves or two pigeons, so if you're even more indigent, they are to bring as an offering for their sin a tenth of an ephah of the finest flour for a sin offering. They must not put olive oil or incense on it because it is a sin offering. They are to bring it to the priest, who shall take a handful of it as a memorial proportion and burn it on the altar on top of the food offerings presented to the Lord. It is a sin offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for them for any of these sins they have committed, and they will be forgiven. The rest of the offering will belong to the priest, as in the case of the grain offering. That's nice. Because look, this isn't just for people, and I said indigent, but this probably is a very real problem. Specifically, if you have cases where the entire community has been involved in some serious sinning. If lots of people are out making fools of themselves and then realizing it later, you might see the supply and demand model change heavily in the demand favor in the favor of supply, and prices are going up. So where you might normally have access to livestock, maybe you don't anymore. Maybe they're going for a premium, and it is out of your means. God isn't trying to make forgiveness unattainable. He wants you to go through the process that you're supposed to go through. It's a little bit drawn out, but what we're looking at, what I see here is building discipline. What do the Israelites need more than anything else other than faith, trust, discipline? You need discipline, and so I feel like a lot of this is I feel like what we see a lot of Leviticus is God coaching up these tribes of Israel to be better people, and this is how we can do it. We can get you through, get into this ritual, get into this state of mind, get you into this procedural thing, so what do I need to do. It's loud and clear. It's good foreshadowing though too. It's a good foreshadowing for Christ because Christ is the ultimate sin offering, right? Ends all these offerings are put away when Christ dies on the cross. That's the end of all that. He is the you cannot make an offering more powerful than a daggone deity who lived a perfect life, provide spreading knowledge and parables and as an example of his faith, not sinning, absolute perfect being, all powerful being. You put him on the cross, you sacrificed him, boom, done. You can't outdo that. There is no going past that. Full stop. There is no. One of my screens just went weird on me. So, but full stop. There. That's it. What is going on? Hold on, folks. Got some technical difficulties. Still playing? Am I still live? Yes, still live. Sorry, the screens went a little weird there, and I lost both screens, but they're back up now. But again, full stop on the offerings at that point because you can't do any better than that. We have now reached full offering ability, and we no longer need to sacrifice these poor old innocent creatures that that had to suffer for the stupid things we do in life. The guilt offering. The Lord said to Moses, When anyone is unfaithful to the Lord by sinning unintentionally in regard to any of the Lord's holy things, they are to bring to the Lord as a penalty a ram from the flock, one without defect, and the proper value and of the proper value in silver, according to the sanctuary shekel. It is a guilt offering. They must make restitution for what they failed to do in regard to the holy things, pay an additional penalty of a fifth of its value, and give it to all the priests. And give it to all the priests. I think that's a typo here on Bible Gateway. The priest will then make atonement for them with the ram as a guilt offering, and they will be forgiven. If anyone sins and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though they do not know it, they are guilty and will be held responsible. They are to bring to the priest as a guilt offering a ram from the flock, one without defect and of the proper value. In this way, the priest will make atonement for them for the wrong they have committed unintentionally, and they would be forgiven. It's a guilt offering. They have been guilty of wrongdoing against the Lord. So, make a sacrifice, make an offering. Do what you then it's clear here because we've seen a lot of unintentional things. The intentional thing here is, or what they do here is, regardless, even if they do not know it. So it's like, no, you've done it. You know you did it, whether you did it on accident or on purpose. Here you go. So, but this is overlapping here. This is part of the thing where I'm losing it, and I don't know if, and that's why I said I need some guidance. I need somebody on here because this sounds, if anyone is unfaithful to the Lord. Yes. Yeah, I just said that before all the isn't Liz says, isn't Jesus the ultimate offering? Yes. Before my screen started going wild and weird, that's what I was saying. All this stuff is for the the Israelites, and this is set up for them as they goes through being the Israelites to Jews. Then then Jesus comes along and he wipes that he ends that practice right there because you can't make a better sacrifice than this. So where was I going? Oh yeah. So what we were saying, what I don't understand is the overlap here between the guilt offering and the sin offering. You know you did something wrong, but you also know you did something wrong in the sin offering. So I need to maybe I'll get Eric on here to talk about why these overlap, or do these run concurrently? I need a biblical lawyer. Do anybody know any Bible lawyers? That would be interesting to talk about. Like I said, I don't want to bring anybody Jewish on here just because I don't want to start with the premise that I bring somebody on here and we both start at points that are kind of offensive to the other person's faith. Jewish person does not recognize the Messiah, that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, and to assume that he is offensive to that faith. And on my side of as a Christian, I believe Jesus Christ was the Messiah, is the Messiah, is the Messiah, and he's here to and that's what he came here and did, and to deny that is offensive to my faith. So I don't want to bring somebody like that on. Maybe I've talked about Messianic Jews, bringing a Messianic Jew on here to kind of describe their faith. Maybe it's somebody like that who's deep in the Word, deep in the history, might understand that better than me. Because look, it's legal. This is all law. This is all Levitical stuff. There's rules in place. I feel like I'm reading them right, but I feel like I'm going to show up with a lamb and a ram and some silver because I did one thing wrong. And I feel like it might be overkill. Or maybe it's not. Right? We all fall short. None of us are worthy. Chapter 6. We're getting close to the end, folks. Thanks for powering through this with me. The Lord said to Moses, if anyone sins and is unfaithful to the Lord by deceiving a neighbor about something entrusted to them or left in their care about something stolen, or if they cheat their neighbor, or if they find lost property and lie about it, or if they swear falsely about any such sin that people may commit, when they sin in any of these ways and realize their guilt, they must return what they have stolen or taken by extortion, or what was entrusted to them, or the lost property they found, or whatever it was they swore falsely about. They must make restitution in full, add a fifth of the value to it, and give it all to the owner on the day of they present their guilt offering. And as a penalty, they must bring to the priest, that is, to the Lord, their guilt offering, a ram from the flock, one without defect and of the proper value. In this way, The priest will make atonement for them before the Lord, and they will be forgiven for any of the things they did that made them guilty. So imagine, if you will, you're up there, and somebody robbed me, right? And I'm up there, but I've done some things wrong, but I've been robbed. I don't have as much stuff, so I've got a couple of pigeons with me that I'm going to make as my as the offering, because you know I tripped the young kid who kept on running by my house, or kept running by my tent, making too much noise, and it got me upset. So when he ran by, I tripped him, right? So I'm gonna make a sin offering because I did something wrong there. So I've got my two doves, and I'm up there, and I see my neighbor. He's a few people ahead of me, and he's got this offering himself, and then he's making the offering. Then he turns around to me. He goes, "Oh yeah, here's the stuff I stole, plus an additional 5% of that, or the additional 20% of that value. Here you go." I'm looking. I knew it was you. I knew you stole that stuff, and you said you did. Um, that extra 20% might go a long way into saying I'm sorry with interest, right? And I don't know what the statute of limitations are. This could have been something that happened. Maybe something got stolen like 5 years before this. I mean, we got to remember they're in the this goes on for several hundred years, right? This practice goes on for a long time. So there's many times that maybe I sinned, and I finally just came to terms with it and decided I was going to make restitution many years after it happened. Whew. The burnt offering. The Lord said to Moses, "Give Aaron and his sons this commandment. These are the regulations for the burnt offering. The burnt offering is to remain on the altar hearth throughout the night till morning, and the fire must be kept burning on the altar. The priest shall then put on his linen clothes with linen undergarments. Thank you for wearing your undergarments next to his body, and shall remove the ashes of the burnt offering that the fire has consumed on the altar, and place them beside the altar." Wait, wait. The priest shall then put on his linen clothes with linen undergarments next to his body. Okay. So the linen undergarments next to his body, in between the robes and his underwears. And so then next to his body, and then shall remove the ashes of the burnt offering that the fire has consumed on the altar, and place them beside the altar. Then he is to take off these clothes and put on others, and carry the ashes outside the camp to a place that is ceremonially clean. Okay, so you won't get ashes all over your nice stuff. The fire on the altar must be kept burning. It must not go out. Every morning, the priest is to add firewood and arrange the burnt offering on the fire, and to burn the fat out of the fellowship offerings on it. The fire must be kept burning on the altar continuously. It must not go out. The grain offering. These are the regulations for the grain offering. Aaron's sons are to bring it before the Lord in front of the altar. If the priest is to take a handful of the finest flour, no, sorry, the priest is to take a handful of the finest flour and some olive oil, together with all the incense on the grain offering, and burn the memorial portion on the altar as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Aaron and his sons shall eat the rest of it, but it is to be eaten without yeast in the sanctuary area, and they are to eat it in the courtyard of the tent of meeting. It must not be baked with yeast. God don't like yeast. I have given it as their share of the food offerings presented to me. Like the sin offering and the guilt offering, it is most holy. Any male descendant of Aaron may eat it. For all generations to come, it is to be his perpetual share of the food offerings presented to the Lord. Whatever touches them will become holy. That's nice. Like a little Midas touch there, but a little godly touch. Holy. The Lord also said to Moses, "This is the offering Aaron and his sons are to bring to the Lord on the day he is anointed, a tenth of an ephah of the finest flour as a regular grain offering. Half of it is to be half of it in the morning and half in the evening. It must be prepared with olive oil on a griddle. Bring it well mixed and present the grain offering broken in pieces as an aroma pleasing to the Lord." We love that fresh baked bread there, folks, but no yeast. The son who is to succeed him as anointed priest shall prepare it. It is the Lord's perpetual share, and is to be burned completely. Every grain offering of a priest shall be burned completely. It must not be eaten. None for you. Not getting any of God's carbs. The Lord said to Moses, "Say to Aaron and his sons," this is the sin offering, These are the regulations for the sin offering. The sin offering is to be slaughtered before the Lord in the place of the burnt offering is I'm sorry. The sin offering is to be slaughtered before the Lord in the place the burnt offering is slaughtered. It is most holy. The priest who offers it shall eat it, and it is to be eaten in the sanctuary area. No food or drink past this point. In the courtyard of the tent of meeting, whatever touches any of the flesh will become holy. And if any of the blood is spattered on a garment, you must wash it in the sanctuary area. The clay pot the meat is cooked in must be broken, but if it is cooked in a bronze pot, the pot is to be scoured and rinsed with water. Any male in a priest family may eat it. It is most holy. But any sin offering whose blood is brought into the tent of meeting to make atonement in the holy place must not be eaten. Must be burned up. All right, so some instructions going on there. It's a lot. It's a lot to go. We didn't look. It's just Leviticus 7. How many chapters we got in Leviticus? That's not too bad. 27. We quarter the way there. The guilt offering. These are the regulations for the guilt offering, which is most holy. The guilt offering is to be slaughtered in the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered, and its blood is to be splashed against the sides of the altar. All of its fat shall be offered, the fat tail and the fat that covers the internal organs, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver, which is to be removed with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as a food offering presented to the Lord. It is a guilt offering. Any male in a priest's family may eat it, but it must be eaten in the sanctuary area. It is most holy. The same law applies to both the sin offering and the guilt offering. They belong to the priest who makes atonement with them. The priest who offers a burnt offering for anyone may keep its hide for himself. Every grain offering baked in an oven or cooked in a pan or on a griddle belongs to the priest who offers it. And every grain offering, whether mixed with olive oil or dry, belongs equally to all the sons of Aaron. So God's parsing this stuff out. Some stuff's for me, some stuff's for the priest, some stuff's for you, some stuff's for nobody. Like yeast. Yeast is for nobody. Stop eating that yeast. Can't, God. I love yeast. My bread. The fellowship offering. These are the regulations for the fellowship offering. Anyone may present to the Lord. If they offer it as an expression of thankfulness, then along with this thank offering, they are to offer thick loaves made without yeast and with olive oil mixed. Now, how do you have a thick loaf without yeast? You need the yeast, make it thick. I don't get it. Liz, how do you make a loaf thick without yeast? Liz bakes bread. It's pretty good. It's really good. I don't know. Along with their fellowship offering of thanksgiving, they are present an offering with thick loaves of bread made with yeast. Hey, with yeast. Hope this isn't a typo. Hope this isn't a typo. They are to bring one of each kind as an offering. Oh, okay, so one of each kind. So, so some without yeast and some with yeast. This is the first time we've actually seen this being okay. Do you want to come on right now, Liz? You're more than welcome to. I'll send you the link. Um, where was I? They are to bring one of each. No, because not because of bread. Oh, okay. Why do you need to be on? Why do you need to be on the show, Liz? Okay, I'll send you a link. Check your check your Facebook. I'm gonna send. If it's not about bread, what's it about? There, Liz. I sent you the link. When you pop up, I'll let you in. Look, we're almost at the end here, so I've been doing this for 45 minutes. Time flies when you're subjecting other people to Leviticus. All right. So they are to bring one of each kind as an offering against the altar, the meat of their fellowship, offering of thanksgiving must be eaten on the day it is offered. They must leave none of it till morning. Okay, okay. So the fellowship offering is is the meat. I'll wait for you, Liz. That's all right. The fellowship offering is the meat that we described uh Friday night when we went through this. The animal, I can't remember what it was exactly. We can do this. Fellowship offering. Oh no, we did the fellowship offering at the beginning tonight. So it all runs together, right? Um just an animal from the herd. So you get an animal out there. But in addition to that, could have just hit the back button, Stuart. Boomer. In addition to it, offer thick loaves made without yeast and with olive oil mixed in, thin loaves made without yeast and brushed with oil, and thick loaves with the finest flour, well kneaded and with oil mixed in. All this sounds good. Along with their fellowship offering of thanksgiving, they are to present an offering with thick loaves of bread made with yeast. They are to bring one of each kind as an offering, a contribution to the Lord. It belongs to the priest who splashes the blood of the fellowship offering against the altar. The meat of their fellowship offering of thanksgiving must be eaten on the day it is offered. They must leave none of it till morning. Okay, so specific. You still got to eat all. You can't just eat the bread. You got to eat the meat. Not that I'm going to need any encouragement on that. If, however, their offering is the result of a vow or is a free will offering, the sacrifice shall be eaten on the day they offer it, but anything left over may be eaten on the next day. Any meat of the sacrifice left over till the third day must be burned up. If any meat of the fellowship offering is eaten on the third day, the one who offers it will not be accepted. It will not be reckoned to their credit, for it has become impure. The person who eats any of it will be held responsible. That is a warning against. That is a warning to all against leftovers. There is an expiration date on leftovers, especially in days before refrigerators, Ziploc bags, aluminum foil, anything. It's just sitting out there in the wilderness. Anything can come up and eat it. Anything can get on it. You got flies, you got bacteria, you got all sorts of stuff. I don't even think there's soap right now. So meat that touches anything ceremonial Meat that touches anything ceremonially unclean must not be eaten. It must be burned up. As for other meat, anyone ceremonially clean may eat it. But if anyone who is unclean eats any meat of the fellowship offering belonging to the Lord, it won't let you. Hold on. Let's try this again. Sorry, I'm trying to help Liz out here. Try that one, Liz. Check your messenger again. Meat that touches anything ceremonially unclean must not be eaten. It must be burned up. As for other meat, anyone ceremonially clean may eat it. But if anyone who is unclean eats any meat of the fellowship offering belonging to the Lord, they must be cut off from their people. Anyone who touches something unclean, whether human uncleanliness or an unclean animal or any unclean creature that moves along the ground, and then eats any of the meat of the fellowship offering belonging to the Lord, must be cut off from their people. Now, I don't know. Now, see, this is another one. This is another thing that I'm curious about. Cut off from their people. How long are they being cut off? Is this a permanent cutting off? Is this a what is this? You got to go sit in timeout, exodus timeout. I think that's probably more so from what it is that you need to be punished, set aside for a little while until you go through things. But again, this is something that I'd like to know more. This doesn't. It's there for context. This doesn't apply now. We don't have these issues. There are people if you have not noticed it before, there are Christians out there who do still follow the Old Testament food rules, just like the Jewish folks do. And And I respect that. I mean, it's not. I don't think that that stuff has to apply to you now, but you know, you're missing out. But if you feel like that's correct and you feel like you can handle it and you feel like it's the right thing to do, then hey, man, more or hey, lady, hey, person, whoever, more power to you. Um, I just I wouldn't do it. We'll let you on now, Liz. We'll let you on now. Maybe not. Anyway, all right. La- Eating fat and blood forbidden. The fat part's the problem. I don't want to eat. I don't want to drink blood. I like a nice, well marbled steak. So, the Lord said to Moses, "Say to the Israelites, do not eat any of the fat of cattle, sheep, or goats. The fat of an animal found dead or torn by wild animals may be used for any other purpose, but you must not eat it. Anyone who eats the fat of an animal from which a food offering may be presented to the Lord must be cut off from their people. And wherever you live, you must not eat the blood of any bird or animal. Anyone who eats blood must be cut off from their people." Yeah, because that's a little weird, right? That's a little weird. Liz, are you still trying to get on? Yes, no, maybe so. Well, let me on. Let me in. Let me in. What do you want to challenge me on? I'm just as a curiosity, Liz, because I'm open on this, right? Because this is hard for me. This is hard to interpret um, parts. This is me just going off of initial impressions. So I'm not sitting here going, "This is definitely what I believe. This is, this is what it. This is the way it is." I am definitely open to, and that's kind of what I want to see in the chat. I want to see in the chat things where places where people say, "I think it means this," because that's worth considering, especially when we're talking about this stuff. Because we're all, I mean, look, I'm a layman at this. I'm just going off of my gut reaction. What do you think, Liz? Um, the Lord said, okay, so we thought, don't eat fat, don't drink blood. You're not a vampire. This isn't Twilight. It's all fake. Don't do that stuff. It's weird. Why am I focused on the Old Testament? I'm focused on the Old Testament because I'm going through it chapter by chapter. I'm going through it in order. That's the only reason. I mean, look, so I've said this before. I say this a lot because I do love the Old Testament. The Old Testament has so much. It is so narrative rich. There is so much more, in my opinion, more more accounts of relatable people than you find in the New Testament. The New Testament is Christ, who is somebody that we're all striving to be. He's on the pedestal. He is God. He is the person whose path we are trying to walk, and he has so much knowledge that he bestows upon us with his parables and teachings. And hey, this is what God expects of us, and this is what I'm here for. And here's grace. Here's that understanding. And everything. There's the Gospels are what Christ said is number one in my opinion. The way if I'm going to um if I'm going to rank the different scriptures, um I would rank the Gospels number one. Because I think that that's where you're going to get the most out of it because those are accounts where Christ is quoted directly, where we are listening to his accounts, that kind of stuff is going on. However, after Christ is crucified, after after his resurrection as an ascendance and he ascends into heaven, um, the majority of it is Paul talking to churches, Paul's conversion as from Saul to Paul, and put yourself in the place of the antagonist of Bible stories. Oh, you mean like Sunday? Um, I mean, yeah. I don't look at and I thought what he we had a speaker at church this weekend, and actually he's going to be on this program, and hopefully we will be doing multiple collaborations together. The gentleman, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the stream tonight. The gentleman who first introduced me to apologetics spoke at our church yesterday, and he did a great job of talking about how so often we were talking about Joseph, which we've gone through here not too long ago. Um, putting your when we read the Bible, we put ourselves so much in the seat of the protagonist, and that we need to not do that. We need to not always assume that we're the hero, that we're the chosen one, or we're the person that God's reaching out to. Though I think it's important sometimes to realize that God is always trying to work through us. The way I read the Bible might be different from how other people do it. The way I read the Bible is I'm looking at the events that happen, and I'm trying to relate to the event and not um the specific person like Joseph. Like I can put myself in his shoes to try to understand why he made the decisions that he made, but also put myself in the shoes of Reuben, for example, who's the oldest. Like I'm the oldest. I'm from a very small. I mean, I have a brother, right? So I don't have this family of 12 sons, at least one sister, 12 brothers, at least one sister, four moms, and a father who has his own ethical issues from time to time. But as the older brother, or as a taking that position, I can say, okay, well, I understand why Ruben feels this way, or why somebody would feel like somebody wronged him. Um, but what I love, my issue with or what I take away from the relatability from the Old Testament is so many of these guys that we run into are flawed, and identifying with the flaws and the things that they do that are wrong, and seeing that some of the things that they do are worse than things that are done. Yes. So Liz says there are lessons from both sides, but to be relatable, we are the antagonist. We are not the hero, even though we all want to be. That is true many times, but it doesn't. To me, it's to take both. Sometimes you are, and sometimes you aren't. Sometimes you're the good guy in a scenario. Sometimes you're the bad guy. But I don't think But to me, I don't think it matters so much whether you're the good guy or the bad guy in the thing, as long as you're recognizing what you're doing that is right and what you're doing that is wrong. Because even when you might be the good guy in a situation, um, you might have made mistakes along the way. David was a good guy, but he does some very bad things on the way there. Um, as opposed to Joseph, who just seems to be, in my opinion, naive, and he just goes through here and he makes good decision after good decision because he puts so much faith in the Lord. I can't relate to Joseph that way, because that's not who I am. I'm definitely not a person who would ever compare myself to Joseph or Daniel or any of these folks. Um, but I look to them as the hero because it's me looking up to somebody, I guess. It's me looking up to even the folks who have got problems. Folks like King David, folks like Jonah even. I mean Jonah does screws up some. And you look up to people because in the Old Testament they're so real because you run the whole gamut. People who are chosen to do the right thing and then do the wrong thing and and never get past doing the wrong thing. They just keep doing it. People who screw up along the way make amends for it. People who screw up along the way but keep the faith and keep trying to do what's important by keeping faith and listening to God. There's just there's so much diversity in what's going on in the Old Testament. That's why I think the Old Testament is so important for people, um, to read and understand, because again you can put yourself in different places, yeah, but if you just read it and you just respect it for what it is, respect these accounts for what they are, you're not Joseph. You're never going to be Joseph. Joseph was Joseph, right? You're never going to be Jacob. You're never going to be any of these people, but you can learn from what how they lived their life, from what they did that was good, for what they did that was bad, and you can look through it through the lens of the Bible where there is a written account and you kind of get that play by play Monday morning quarterback, whatever you want to call it, just the hindsight being 2020. Oh, that's what they did. Okay, cool. I don't like the idea of putting yourself and that's what I liked about what Billy said, or yeah, Mr. Dyer said yesterday. Don't put yourself in the seat of of the hero, because I think you're setting yourself up for failure. You're already assuming that you're doing the right thing. You're probably not. Like I said at the beginning of this, you're going to do things. You're going to screw up a couple of times a day at least, where you're going to do something you probably shouldn't have. If you if you exhibit any signs of road rage, you're probably letting your anger and your temper getting the better of you, and you're probably thinking some sinful thoughts. I know I have myself. That said, again, that's not how I read the Bible. I don't read the Bible and feel I don't read the Bible and feel like, oh yeah, I feel just like so and so here. I read it and go, okay, yeah, I probably would have done the same thing in his position, but this is why it's wrong. Or, man, okay, when I feel this way and I have this feelings because I read this story, I felt I identified with the good guy because it was something that I found was relatable, and he did the right thing. So you can, like I said, there's a balance there, but I think that his warning about making yourself the hero is very valid, because you can get yourself stuck, especially when when you're in a good place in your faith, or you feel like you're in a good place in your faith. You got to worry about that hubris. Oh, I'm doing so well. Maybe you are, but you probably just need to assume you're not. Keep walking that path. Again, faith in Christ is all about humility and understanding what you're doing wrong. If you don't have the humility to pause and just accept that you're not going to live a perfect life, you are not on the path that you need to be. You're not Jesus. You're not. You're not going to be him. But you can take from him, but you can try your best to take what he says to heart, apply it into your life. And then, hey, there are people I've met in life that I feel like are genuinely kind people who are just even keeled, loving people, well versed in scripture. They just feel like they've got their act together. Folks that are way more righteous than I in a day than I could try to possibly achieve in my life. And I see them and I'm like, man, they got that stuff together. But I don't know what they're dealing with. Maybe they do have it all together. Maybe they are incredibly righteous and good for them. God bless. Um, but I can't just assume it. I can't just I can't just say that. They might be dealing with their own inner demons. Maybe they're just quiet about it. Maybe they handle their sins better than I do. I don't know if they're hurting at all. I don't know if they're struggling with faith. I don't know if they're struggling with doubt or cynicism, or dealing with all the negativity in the world, and they're just taking it stoically. I don't know what they're doing. I'm very open. I try to be very open about my account, but not everybody's like that. Better people than me. But I liked what he said. I liked what he said, and I think Liz brings a good point about that this is not the best part about this is not the best part of the Bible to bring that up, because we're going through rules and text and everything. There's nobody to really put place you need to put into. But I think when what's after this, getting into Joshua, there's parts of Joshua, Samuel, when we get into Judges, getting into Judges, um, and then into King Saul and King David. There's definitely points in there where uh, you can fall into that trap of assuming that you're the good guy and to be like, oh yeah, I've been right where he is. I've been right where he is. Maybe you did. Did you do it the way he did it? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you did do things right. God, I mean, just because there's these folks in the Bible that do these great things, or make these good choices, doesn't mean that they're the only ones who can make them. You can make them, and maybe you do. But be careful. Be careful making yourself out to be the hero. Did I address that right, Liz? How do you think I did on that? And maybe I'm different about it. I don't know how other people read the Bible. That's just how I read the Bible. I try to be really hands off about that because I never want to put myself in that. I can't get I always worry about putting myself in somebody else's shoes, or assuming that I'm just as good as somebody else, or I've made a decision just as well as somebody else, especially somebody as noteworthy as anybody mentioned in the Bible. So that's a sidetrack. I like that. Thank you, Liz. Thank you for bringing that up. I love doing these off the cuff discussions, and that's what I want to see in these. It makes the stream longer, but it's only 9:15. And it only got a little bit more. And like I said, this was already a long running show as it is. Um, so we talked about the blood again. The what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, don't eat the fat. Don't drink. Don't eat the fat. I know it's good. I know it's tasty. I know it makes the meat better. Just cut around it, right? I know you might be tempted. Just take that fork, stick it in there. I'm not talking about now. We don't have to worry about this anymore, right? But I know it had to be tempting to folks at the time. I know I could have again. All right, so putting myself in the shoes of somebody who's just going through this procedure, and I'm like, all right, I can eat all this, man, but I can't eat that fat. I can't eat that fat. Temptation, folks. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's an exercise in temptation. Or maybe God said, no, that fat is mine. The tastiest stuff. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, anyone who brings a fellowship offering to the Lord is to bring part of it as their sacrifice to the Lord. With their own hands, they are to present the food offering to the Lord. And they are to bring the fat together with the breast and wave the breast before the Lord as a wave offering. So it sounds like the person doing the animal sacrifice, the man representing the family, because again, we are very patriarchal, and very patriarchal at this point in our culture. The man comes up, he presents the offering, does rips it out, does the cleaning and everything, waves the meat around. The priest shall burn the fat on the altar, but the breast belongs to Aaron and his sons. You are to give the right thigh of your fellowship offerings to the priest as a contribution. The son of Aaron who offers the blood and the fat of the fellowship offering shall have the right thigh as his share. From the fellowship offerings of the Israelites, I have taken the breast that is waved and the thigh that is presented, and have given them to Aaron the priest and his sons as their perpetual share from the Israelites. So this is just the basic. What we see here is this God setting something aside for the priest because this is their full time job. It's not something they're supposed to be making money at, but it's giving them the means to subsist and maybe have a little bit for themselves and a little bit too, and the rest to maintain what's going on with the tabernacle and everything. This is the portion of the food offerings presented to the Lord that were allotted to Aaron and his sons on the day that were presented to serve the Lord as priests. On the day they were presented to serve the Lord as priests. On the day they were anointed, the Lord commanded that Israelites give this to them as their perpetual share for the generations to come. These then are the regulations for the burnt offering, the grain offering, the sin offering, the guilt offering, and the ordination offering and the fellowship offering. Lots of offerings. Great offerings. The best of offerings, which the Lord gives Moses at Mount Sinai in the desert of Sinai on the day he commanded the Israelites to bring their offerings to the Lord. And thus, we conclude chapter 7 and our readings tonight. So, if you like this, if you were able to get all an hour and 9 minutes of this, and you enjoy this, if you want to be part of this discussion, if you want to help support the show, please like, subscribe, share, participate. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook, Flawed Man of God. It's the same on there. Eventually, I'm going to get an Instagram. I keep saying that. Um, Follow me on there. Share this, contribute, comment, be part of the conversation. I mean, I'm not forcing you to. Obviously, I can't make you. If you want to be talking, if you just want to listen and get something out of it that way, that's great. But if you know somebody, if you listen to this and you know somebody who um, who really could use to hear this, or you think would really get something out of this, or is looking for that community, looking for this, um, education, seeking something. If it's you, I don't know. Just keep it up. Just keep tuning in. Keep giving me your thoughts. Hopefully, if you're not part of a church, um, listening to me kind of helps get you into that zone where you can finally take that leap of faith, and not just in God, but in people. Because putting your faith in God, I think, is much easier than putting your faith in people, because people can let you down. It's the whole reason we have these rules right here, are because we're screwing up. The whole reason that the name of my channel is a flawed man is because we're screw ups, right? And you know that means that we can let you down. I can let you down. I'll try not to, and so will the people around you. Some will take advantage of you on it intentionally. There are bad actors in there. There's bad actors in every institution and in every measure of the faith. There are bad people, and they're out there. And I can't tell you that they're any different from anybody else that you'll meet in the world. But faith in God is your number one, first and foremost, and then just trying to keep your eyes open and look for a place that really speaks to you, that you feel comfortable is teaching you the word, that makes sense in your head when you read through the Bible, that it's speaking to you, and the church is speaking to you the way that the Holy Spirit's trying to speak to you. Um, when you read into the Bible, look for that. Look for a community that you think is going to support you as well. Do it. Do it. And again, tuning in. Keep listening to whatever I have to say. Hopefully it's something of substance to you. So with that said, guys, have a great night. I'll talk to you some more about the upcoming guests that I've got coming in, and I really like where this. Again, I can't say enough. I really like what this show does and what it's doing, even if the outreach right now is somewhat is quite modest. Anyway, you guys have a good evening. God bless. Good Godspeed.